or champions of health.
Found out, we got 5. No.
At least you moved seats on us.
What?
You moved seats, yours over there.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Just keep an eye on your
Really
toes.
helping over
We're
there.
in a fight.
He's just trying to prove he's keeping track.
What's going on?
Right? I said you get over there.
Ready to start?
I don't think we are.
We're working on the
Okay.
Quiz Scout presentation.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here, I thought I was holding it for
Yes, I
mine.
can find the slideshow. Hey, Ben, can you resend it? I am not seeing it attached. Okay, that'd be great. So, let's see.
Oh, thank you. And you gave me one for the tourism too, right?
I was asked.
I don't know, because I didn't do them, I'm just passing them out.
Oh, I think I, yeah. Yeah, I got both of them. Yeah.
Hey, do you want this? I got a tablet. Do you want the computer?
Otherwise, we
No,
can
I got,
have him
I got
connect
it.
with the.
I'm good.
I think we might need to.
And then they
because
got it
I'm
on the
wondering
screen
if it was too
anyway.
big. I've had emails that never got through to me.
I just printed it just in case I don't get
What do you do? Take notes on the agenda?
So I've been on the board for,
No, like,
Some
size,
get
not
so
file
long.
size.
Yeah,
was on
Cause I wonder if that's what happens sometimes, our
So I'd have to be
emails
on
just
for
don't
3.
take them and they don't alert us. Cause
Do you-
it's not in here.
maybe I.
Do you have like a
Maybe
HDMI
mine was 2.
port
or
on your
something.
laptop?
Cause I don't think I've been on for 6 years.
But maybe you got,
4 years since.
maybe you got started on.
Oh, okay.
We can figure it out. We'll make it happen.
Well, yeah.
We'll make it happen.
I think
Okay.
there always
We can
was,
always,
but it's just hard to get
Should we
it
skip
out.
through the other
So
agenda?
the
items?
guys-
Just
How long
for-
have you been?
Yeah, sure.
And then if we're still working on it, we'll just,
Cause
So
I
we can do
started
some
when
other
the other
updates.
guy
The
was,
other
Wait,
option
the
is
files?
we could run down and get like a
Which was it?
flash drive.
it was in COVID, so we
did have
were
one or
online.
two. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be awesome.
you have a USB.
I didn't realize it was over there,
And then
but
Rich
Peggy
was
takes
working
care of
on
it.
And I joined on
We were
the
doing-
board, when
we were doing
Rich was
broadcast
leaving.
on it.
How did it go? I wanted to come by.
Yeah, we had a lot left over, but the construction was,
Decided he wasn't gonna continue on.
They were
So I started doing
Technology,
this
man.
Yeah.
on the road, but it was stopping the traffic and then people would just back out and they kept going. They kept
There was,
going.
I knew there was concern going into it.
Are we ready then?
But,
I think we could start with other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, we can come back to that.
Okay,
I started in 2017.
so I would like to call the park board meeting to order. It is Tuesday, May 12th, and it is 5:03 PM. And I'll take roll. Frisch,
Here.
Ruadi is absent. Knutson,
here,
Miller,
Present.
Herniman,
Present.
Lees.
Here.
Okay, and item 3 is appointing a chair. Is there somebody that would like to make a nomination for chair?
I'll make a nomination for Mark Miller.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the meeting's yours.
We have to continue on with the appointment of a vice chair. Have any nominations for a vice chair?
Nominate Andy,
Horner?
there we go.
You can just use the.
Do we have a second?
We'll just go with Andy.
Well, a second from Jamie. Any other nominations? All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So moved. We have a vice chair. Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. So, moving on to item 5. So approval of minutes from March 10th. We weren't able to have a meeting in April, so back March 10th. Just like to point out that at the time of the meeting, I was going to bring out there are a couple of changes, and so those were included in the packet. So there was a little bit of a correction on it, so be aware of that. Essentially, what it was about is it stated that the contractor was Rettler Corporation, but in fact, he was the consultant, and so the contractor is a little different. I just wanted to make sure that that was in the records and the notes appropriately, because I was talking about when the schedule of work was going to begin, and just wanted to make sure of that. So that was a correction in meeting minutes. Any other corrections that park board members have? Hearing none, I'll call for approval.
I make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Matt, thank you. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So moved. Very good, thank you for that. We do have the opportunity for public appearances, any community input, and if people are interested in talking with the park board, some further information. That doesn't necessarily mean that we'll respond to it, but we'll take it for matters. Anybody else? You're gonna be later? New business?
Yep, you are.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So we'll move on to 7, reports from the village staff. So Director of Public Works. 1A.
Good to go?
You still working on the? Okay.
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 I can
Do you want to just
introduce,
jump around?
I can introduce Ben, and we can always go back if this is not, it's not cooperating quite yet. So,
Technology.
Ben Baker is here from Troop 168, the Scout Troop 168 in Oregon, to present his proposal to put up to 5 bat boxes in our village parks and open space. Ben did come and meet with myself and Assistant Director Nick Hack about a month back to talk about his proposal and to talk about the sites that he was looking at. We discussed 3 in the Lerner Park, Keller Alpine Meadows area, that larger kind of conservation park area. 1 near Stone Ridge Park, close up in, actually, I think on public works land, so more on the greenway land than it is in the park land. And then 1 at the retention pond at the northeast corner of Cusick and Netherwood there. And I'll let him provide more details about that. But just briefly, Nick and I were really impressed with the proposal, and we think that Ben's got an excellent kind of concept behind it, but also implementation plan. He really thought through all the details and had a great list of asks that he needed, and I'll be honest, they weren't much, especially compared to some Scout projects, so I'll let him go from here. Okay, you wanna bring it over?
He says I'm working on getting the handouts from downstairs also to hand out to the.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Uh-huh.
That would be what I want.
I think I may have to just click through this.
Not an issue.
Okay.
So Ben, could you just, again, state your name, but also your address where you live?
Yep, so my name is Ben Baker. I live at 695 Northwoods Edge Drive, Oregon, Wisconsin. Thank you, Laura, for a great introduction there. But yeah, so I've been planning my Eagle project now for about 6 months. It's been kind of a, lack of better words, logistical nightmare trying to figure out exactly what is needed to be done. With it being in parkland, I did, of course, have to come through the park board. This is what I am doing now, and then I also will need to obtain permission from the Village of Oregon, assuming everything goes well here. So, if you could pop over to the next slide. So the main benefit that we're going to be seeing here from these bat houses will be a safe roosting and nesting habitats for the local bat populations, and well, they are very important to maintaining that healthy ecosystem. Bats do help control insect population, including mosquitoes and agricultural pests, reducing the need for chemical pesticides in the area. Installing these bat houses will help support the local biodiversity by giving bats an alternative to natural roosting sites that may be limited or disturbed. Everybody knows Cave of the Mountains. A lot of bats like to nest in there, which can cause issues due to a disease called white nose disease. The project will benefit the surrounding community as a whole by contributing to natural pest control and promoting environmental conservation, education throughout that whole matter. These bat houses are, of course, designed to be very long-lasting and should continue to benefit the Oregon area for years to come. Another quick little fun fact, bats can eat up to 1,000 mosquitoes in a night. So it's a lot of mosquitoes, and I live in a very buggy area. So with anything that has construction or building in it, there is always the safety concerns that we need to be concerned about. So all work is going to follow the BSA Safe Guide to Scouting with adult supervision at all times. There will be safety briefings before project starts and before any tools are being used. And then eye protection is to be worn at all times. Especially, I just decided all times because it's only for cutting and stuff, but if you're in the area where there could be stuff flying around, wood chips flying around, I'd like to just stop that from happening if I can. Saws and drills are only to be used by trained scouts under adult supervision, and that's only the drill part. The saws are actually only allowed for 18 and up around all of scouting. Materials will be secured before cutting. I've seen a lot. I work construction for a bit. I've seen people pick up a 2x4, take a rip saw down it. We're going to try to eliminate that from happening. And then there will be an adult just in charge of safety, making sure every scout's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and making sure that he's being safe, not running around with the scissors pointed straight up. And then there will be first aid kit on site for any emergencies that do happen, if we do have any. We're going to hope for not. So these are the current plans that we do have, that I did get for the bat houses. They are a very simple design, not a lot of complex moving parts to them, nothing really to worry about. There is, if requested by either the Parks Board or the village, I can put them on a swivel at the base so they can be maintenance more easily. If not, all you should need is a ladder to get the rest of that in play. Posts will be set into the ground at about 13, so I'm going to be getting 13-foot 4x4 posts. About 3 feet would go into the ground, and then the other 10 feet would be up above to prevent any swaying that could happen. The Village of Oregon has said that if gravel is needed to help compact the site a little bit more, it is doable and it can be fixed. Can you pop over that next slide, that'd be great. Thank you. So locations, Lauren did briefly talk about it. But ponds and overflows around Oregon, which are prone to the mosquito spawn area. Lerner Park has a lot of those pond areas where if you walk on there early mornings, late nights, you like going on runs or just walks out there, you'll get bit pretty good if you're not wearing any sort of bug protection. So we're going to try to eliminate some of those mosquitoes that like to produce in the area. And then over at my house, which just so happens to be just off of the Alpine overflow pond, during the spring and summer months, it does get very mosquito as that overflow is used. Bugs like to produce. So we're going to try to eliminate that as well. So the cost of these bat houses is going to be about 45 to 100. I understand it's not a very closed-in range, but it's going to come down to where I buy the materials, how much I ended up buying. It's all dependent on that because there are bulk orders I can do through places like Stoughton Lumber and Lowe's, where it'll bring down the total cost of materials. But based on the common bat house woodworking materials that I was able to obtain, it described very close to how easy this can be, and then cost, of course, like I did say, if I want to go with a different wood type, tools, or any sort of screws that I do decide to use, I can always switch it up. And we're going to try that flagpole pivot style if that is what you guys would like, but you guys will have to let me know on that. So part of the Eagle project, if you guys do see in the book, is how I plan on demonstrating leadership. That's a big part about this project. It's not, unfortunately, as much as I'd like it to be, it's not about doing it all by myself. It is teaching people how to go through the motions and teaching them how to, you're basically leading them to the final project. So I plan on organizing all lead volunteers by clearly assigning tasks, almost kind of like a chore chart style I'm thinking about doing. That way I don't have a kid that I want to be assembling the roof to be over by the people that are trying to put the post in the ground. Just want to eliminate the distractions that can happen. Like I did say, we'll be having that work plan, make sure everything is working as efficiently as possible and as safely as possible. I'm going to be doing a lot of supervising throughout the project and adjust tasks as needed. If somebody's doing really good on something, I might take a person off so they can go help elsewhere. I will ensure all safety rules are stopped, and if we were putting these posts up, if it starts thundering for the day, well, then we got to bring it in for at least 30 minutes to an hour to prevent that, to prevent any injuries that can be caused there. I will have great communication with scouts and adults throughout all points to make sure that everybody will understand their role, and I will take responsibility for the final outcome and ensure this project meets all requirements and standards set by the by the Parks Committee and by the Village of Oregon. That would be the last slide, so if you guys have any questions, please.
Judy?
Thank you for doing this, first of all. Great project. How many, and maybe I missed it, how many are you thinking about building?
5.
5, okay. Is it all going to be in one park, or is it going to be?
It's going to be a little bit spread out, so we're going to have 3 in the Lerner Park area. Oh, she's got it. That's beautiful. She's got it pulled up. She's ready, perfect. So the first area is going to be more in that Lerner Park, as I did say, with that concrete track that you guys have around the area. Try to put about 3 bat houses in there, which I actually already have stakes out there flagged with an orange paint on top. So that way, me, Lauren, and Nick can go back and possibly do some more discussing about that if need be. And then we're gonna put one over by that Cusick Parkway pond out there. I just don't want to work too far ahead.
Yeah, we're still very blurry. Oh, boy.
Well, so yeah, I'm gonna plan on putting one over by the Cusick Parkway area, and then I am gonna be putting one just off of Alpine in that retention pond area over there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I live there, so I know how bad it gets. So we're gonna try to bring that back just a bit.
Other questions? Andy?
Ben, thanks for coming. I was gonna ask about the construction and the installation. Were you planning on doing that all in one day, or were you gonna break it up into different tasks? Like one day assemble the houses, another day? I guess, can you just expand on what your plan is for that?
Yep. So this could be a 2 to 3 day project. It kind of depends on the pace that we go. It's probably going to be about at least 1 weeknight to 2 weeknights of just kind of getting a cut sheet in order, getting all the cut stuff in order. That way we don't have to cut everything in one day. So I plan on my father plans on helping me pre-cut all the boards, so that way when scouts come, we can just get right into the assembly process. So that could take about 2 weeknights. But beside that, I do plan on putting them together and putting them up around the same day, depending on the turnout that I do get from people, though.
Sure. And as far as the installation, are you planning to dig the holes yourself, or is that something that you're asking Public Works for help? I guess what are you looking for as far as help from the village?
So as far as help from the village, it's really just drilling those holes, which me and Nick previously discussed. Just having those holes drilled for us, that way we can go over there, pop them in. And then I did ask if it's possible to have some gravel out next to these holes to help compact these in, so we don't see a lot of movement in the bat house themselves.
Great. Last question that I have, you planning to put one per pole? Have you thought about, since you have the pole up there, putting them on each face? You know, like back to back on there, you know, to have 10 or multiple? Or are you just sticking with 5? I guess, how did you come up with that number?
I just came up with it off of the prints that I was able to get. It's about I didn't really consider the possibility of having one on each face or just 2 on opposite faces. It is a great idea. I'll have to do some more research on that, making sure that it doesn't interfere with anything else, or I would like to make sure that the bats don't start basically fighting each other if I do that.
Sure. Great. Thank you.
Other comments? Matt?
Just 2 questions. And first, thank you, sir, for being here. Impressive presentation and impressive young man. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And then, how long do these last? Or is there like a stain that you can put on, clear coat or something? You know, so it doesn't get all chipped up in our wonderful winters out here.
Yep. So on the material list and that in the packets that you guys have, I actually do have all the materials that I will need laid out. One of the materials, the couple of materials I will be using is an exterior grade 1/4-inch plywood that is usually used on construction for houses, and then I will also be using exterior grade screws, and then I will be putting a weatherproof stain on it to make it look nice and pretty.
Amazing. And then last question. And this is more curiosity and fairness. Like, so are we trying to attract the bats in so that they eat the mosquitoes, or there's bats around I just haven't noticed, right? I mean,
It's both.
Okay.
I had a lot of people in the troop that are telling me that if I want to start selling them bat houses, they'll take them. They have bats that live in their attic.
all right. Yeah.
So we would like to bring some bats in there, but there are an existing amount of bats in Oregon. There are bat houses already out at Anderson Park. And if you ever walk out there during the day, you can actually hear them chippering. So I think that's pretty cool.
All right, that's cool. Amazing. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Other comments?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Yeah, I was curious about the bat population now as well. But then why, trees versus posts? Can't we put out, like, is there I guess I've always thought of a bat house and a tree, like a tall tree. Is there an advantage to the posts versus the tree?
Yes. I do not want to be drilling into a live tree. I'd like to, there's already enough issues with the trees around just the Wisconsin alone. Ash trees have the emerald ash borers. Oak trees have their own sort of bug that like to dig into them. So I'd like to try to prevent drilling into live trees with all I can, and the post helps. The post will help eliminate that just enough. Where I won't have to be drilling into live trees, and most of the bat houses are kind of going up an area where there aren't a lot of trees, or there are a lot smaller trees, which will bring in hopefully more bats in turn.
Do you have to put anything inside of it to like attract it, or?
Nope, they just look for a warm, dry spot most nights.
Okay. And then, where are your volunteers coming from for the project?
So my volunteers will be coming from Troop 168. And then I also have a lot of family that is in the construction world that has told me that they will volunteer their time to help me put these houses up and to help build them.
Okay. And I guess I'm asking for curiosity because I was just saying yesterday, I wish we had a bat house in the yard. So, if there was like public opportunity to volunteer or expanding to residential areas, I think there could be some opportunity for that too.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm excited for the project.
Thank you.
Other comments? I got a few. When the Anderson took place, which was another scout project, and we put a couple of them around, I learned quite a bit about that at the time. The location also is important, so it warms up, like he had mentioned. And so therefore you get it right place. If it's under trees, it doesn't get as much of that exposure. Likewise, other things will take nest in there. And so therefore, in a post like that, you don't get as much of that involvement, so. The other thing that I've learned, at least from that, there are some times when you need to do maintenance. You need to empty and open them up again. So just something to keep in mind, not necessarily your project, but it's just something to keep in mind. I don't know how often the Anderson ones are opened up, but that was a discussion as well, is that to clean it up occasionally as well. So one of the things in a scout project as well is sometimes you ask for funding, you know, so it's not coming out of your pocket and such. Did you consider doing any of that by requesting any donations for people to support in your financial costs?
Not exactly, no. I do have three family members that are requesting bat houses, so I told them that I would sell them to them, and that's how I plan on funding a good chunk of my project.
Okay.
Other than that, I do have a lot of people in my family that have said, yeah, we can give you some money, we can pay for a bat house. I did have the thought about reaching out to the public and possibly doing and putting it on Facebook or on open community page, asking if you'd like to sponsor a bat house. If a person recently passed away, they'd like to sponsor a bat house, but I came to the conclusion of that's not something that I'm comfortable organizing, and that is something that will take a tremendous amount of kind of going back and forth with the person, trying to figure out how I do this, how I do it while abiding to the laws of the scouting and so on and so forth. So
Yeah,
I
so you
decided
keep
to
going back
eliminate
and
that.
Oregon is awesome in terms of support. So I think the awareness, like you were talking about, would be really powerful, because you'll have some of this philosophy. You're putting up a bat house to attract bats, but that's not necessarily the case. It's a few years ago that the mosquitoes were really bad, and it was just about the time frame when these bat houses were first put in Anderson Park. I walked through it, and I literally had to put my hood over and pull it tight because there were so many mosquitoes in Anderson Park at the time. The bats hadn't moved in. They don't come in immediately. They usually take about a year or so. It's a little bit of delay, but so just so you're aware, there's a lot of awareness, and so having that message that they're going to be put in the parks, and that if people are willing to support, just see what happens. Never know what happens. But I agree, it's a great project. Thank you for coming to the village and putting them in place for the village. That's awesome. So I don't think there's any particular action we have. We need to move on for the village board, so we need to approve on that. So any other comments? Why don't you call for an approval?
I guess I have one last comment. As far as the single post or the hinge post, I would just leave that up to Public Works and say whatever they want. I don't think we have to come up with anything for that.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to
Andy's got the
approve.
motion. Judy, you second.
Dennis.
Any other discussion in regards to it? All in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. So moved. Ben, thank you very much for coming
Thanks, sir.
up with
Thank
the
you.
idea for us in the parks.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. Move to the Director of Public Works, second item, the update on the Bethel Greenacre Park improvement.
Actually, Leanne, do you want to take the Bethel Greenacre?
Sure. I can do that. So tomorrow night, we are hosting a public open house at Bethel Greenacre Park. We are working with JT Engineering to kind of redesign the future. So they've got some fun renderings. We've offered our input, but we would like to hear from those who use it. So we encourage you all to pop by. There will be a food truck because, of course, you know, it's over dinner time, so just in case. Weather looks gorgeous, and we will have some fun renderings, and we would love to hear your opinions.
I read this wrong, so it's actually at Bethel Park.
It
It's
is.
only in bad weather does it go to
Correct.
Village Hall, so I'm
Yep.
just changing my locations. Any other comments regards to that? How did this message get sent out?
JT Engineering did the physical posting of flyers around like Main Street, different businesses. And then Melissa and I, she added it to the lobby TV downstairs. I believe there was a post, or there will be a post on the village Facebook page. Yes, so it was a collaboration.
And we did mail.
Yes, oh, yeah, that.
You stuffed
How
a bunch
could
of
I forget
envelopes.
the
yeah.
100 envelopes I stuffed? But we did send out a mailer as well to the neighborhood,
Yeah, I
so.
think we did 1,000 feet around Bethel
Mhm.
Greenacre, so quite a few
Mhm.
folks within the neighborhood.
Okay. Very good.
Quick question, Mark.
Yes.
Do they play soccer at Bethel Green? I can't remember if
No.
they do.
No.
They don't?
Not
Okay,
organized.
got it. Okay, that's it.
Very good. Thank you, Leanne.
You're welcome.
Public Works report, item 3, on the summer park enhancements.
Summer park enhancements.
I don't think we had a memo for this. It was just like, what's
What projects?
Eric working on this summer and,
Okay.
and
I'll let
replacement.
Eric
I don't know. You put it on the agenda.
Welcome, Eric.
Hi, Eric.
Someone did.
Yeah, so this is obviously kind of my busiest time of the year. Baseball, rugby, soccer, kind of all full bore. And we still are waiting on LTEs next week, hopefully. But yeah, so the next couple months is mostly, luckily the dry weather is helping us out because we haven't had to mow for a couple weeks. But yeah, it's just keeping the fields prepped for those teams and keeping up with mowing once the LTE staff gets here. Have some pickleball items to address once again I have extra staff and more time on my hands to do some of those things. Yeah, other than that, it looks like events are starting up next week in most of the shelters, so
Yep.
things will start getting really busy. Awesome.
I have a comment.
Andy?
Eric, I see the batting cage at Jason Community Park is being used, so everything is installed and ready to go, it looks like.
Yep, that one's all done.
It's good.
And then I did have a neighbor ask about the sand at Meadowview. Whether it's been filled or replaced recently, cause apparently, I mean, it's hard and you can't really dig in it. So I said I'd bring it up and see if there is something on the horizon with sand there, or the last time it was replaced or added to, just to let them know.
Yeah, so I know it hasn't been added to since I have been here, but now is a good time to bring it up because we're kind of planning budget items, and I think we had switched from sand, if I'm correct, to pea gravel in some, just because washouts have been worse with the sand. But yeah, I think that's something we can definitely look into.
Why pea gravel? Because of the washout?
Yeah, so sand, because of sand being such a
Fine.
material, it'll more easily wash out as to where the rocks, there's a lot more capillary space, so the water will just flow through it.
So I think you did that at Ganser. I think that was one of them that was through the pea gravel. Because a lot of the sand gets moved around, it gets packed down. In some of the cases, it can be a little more dangerous.
So you do it in the sandbox also?
Yeah, so so you would take the sand out and use pea gravel instead.
Okay.
Okay.
But where is it at now?
At Ganser?
It's in another park you said it's in?
I think so.
Yes, I believe, I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't remember.
I think it is at Gassner, yeah.
And that's the one I recall.
You're right.
That was a pretty large area overall, and they have some swings in it or they have some mechanical toys mounted into it. So so it wasn't just plant sand. It was So okay, keep moving on. Other reports from the village staff. Item B, the Director of Community Development report, bike and pedestrian study.
All right. I was going to share about this in April, but of course we had all the storms that didn't meet. But we are making good progress on our bike and pedestrian plan selection process. So we, just for background, back in 2022, we applied for a TAP grant, Transportation Alternatives Program grant, for a bike and pedestrian plan. So that looks at our whole network. What do we have? What's missing? How can we create better, linkages and networks and improve what we currently have? So definitely needed and will be really helpful in our CIP moving forward to have some specific bike and pedestrian projects and recommendations for when we redo roads and intersections, what's kind of needed. So anyway, we have until 2029 to spend that money, but we do need to start the project and be under contract by the end of July this year. So we published an RFP in April, early April, and then proposals were due May 1st. We received 7 proposals and we've narrowed it down to 3. If anybody would like to be part of we're going to do interviews with those 3 this Thursday afternoon from like 1 to 4 p.m. I can send you the proposals and we have some questions kind of laid out. So just to get to know the people who be kind of the boots on the ground here on this plan a little bit more and make sure they're a good fit and ask them some questions about their approach. So anyway, but we have a planning commission member, board member, and a couple staff that have been taking a look at those. So hopefully we'll have somebody selected next week and then under contract probably by mid-June so we can get going on this, but I'll probably run through early next spring. I think I have April 1st as the due date. But Park Board will obviously be kept up to speed on their progress, lots of community engagement, focus groups, things like that too. So more to come, but let me know if you'd like to be part of the selection interviews. That's kind of the last step in this side of the process, but glad to see we got a really good amount of response from a lot of qualified, quite a few local groups too. So happy to see people are interested in our project.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's an 80-20 split between the village and the state. So we're only responsible for 20% of the funding. So it's a really great deal for us. Probably be about $70,000 for the plan. So it's only, $12,000-$15,000 or so for our contribution.
That's awesome. I think the village needs a plan. We can get some outside help. That's wonderful. Any other comments from Matt?
Just a quick one. So the RFPs for a study on if we need more bike paths or how to put more bike paths in, if that makes sense.
Both. So yeah, the plan will be looking at what we currently have and then like where our linkages or gaps in our system and where the recommendations for connections, or maybe there's no path on this, side of the village, or these are different points of interest that people want to get to, not just for recreation, but also just for transportation. How can I get to school or the grocery store? Another part of this plan is an update to this school district safe routes to school plan, which was last updated, I think, in 2008. So almost 20 years old now, which is crazy. So I was in high school then. But yeah, so it'll basically be an update on, what do we currently have, what do we need, and then it'll kind of create like a implementation, recommendations on, these different improvements. You should do this first. These are, estimated costs, and then probably next summer, spring, summer, when we're working on the CIP, like we're starting to do now, we'll be able to kind of integrate some more of those.
Well, that makes sense.
Like
And part of it is I was
projects.
thinking about it, and obviously we'll look at it as it comes in, but what also don't we need, right? Or there are some paths in the wrong spot, maybe?
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
It'll
you
look at
know?
all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, these firms they do a lot of these bike ped plans across the state, across the region. So it's kind of a standard type of
Yeah.
plan, and they'll obviously touch parks, public works, planning, commission too, as well as the board. So we'll be providing updates to all those groups as we move forward.
Awesome, thank you.
Fitchburg got a bike-friendly recognition several years ago, didn't it?
Yeah, we have applied for bike-friendly community status actually this year. I think we have the opportunity to renew. We got, I think, what they called honorable mention, which we joked was like the tinfoil award. It's not even bronze, right? But it was really helpful because they actually provide like a scorecard. And so at the time, this is kind of pre-COVID, but we had a lot of things going, like the bike rodeo, a lot of education and outreach and safety. We had a bike officer, we still do for the police department, but we were scoring really high in those categories. Also that we have a lot of low speed roads. We don't have a lot of, we don't have any 50-mile-an-hour roads going through, on village roads, things like that. So that was good. We had, lacking more off-street infrastructure, as well as kind of like committee or, more organized groups that were sort of advocacy groups. So they provide a lot of recommendations on if you'd like to score better, here's some suggestions. So we've talked about, I think, trying to reapply and just seeing where we're at. It's a good exercise just to see what you can improve, because it's all these different categories from education and safety to infrastructure and advocacy and stuff. So yes, ongoing. But yeah, Fitchburg's been a leader in bike stuff for a long time. So, but yeah, one thing we'll have in the RFP, we're going to ask, the groups is how would you help us coordinate with different, our neighboring municipalities. We obviously have like the Badger State Trail just out in the town of Oregon. It's not that far as the crow flies, but it's a puzzle to figure out how do we connect the Rotary Trail to that trail, and connections up to Madison, the Cap City Trail. So I don't know how much we'll get into some of those regional trail networks. I'm sure that'll be a part of it, but a lot of it will be focused on, okay, what do we actually have control of here in the village, and how can we make our internal networks safer and more functional?
Awesome, wonderful. Any other comments? Very good, thank you, Elise. Move on to item C, recreational programming coordination report.
Yes, so just kind of a past events wrap up. We had Kids Fest, our first annual Kids Fest, the last Saturday in April. We had the best weather I could have ever requested. And just the whole event just exceeded my expectations. We had a lot of people there. I'd say at least about 150, close to 200 families. There was a lot of people there. The vendors were tremendous. Everybody had these great interactive booths. My goal for the event was to have basically answer all the questions you see on like the Open Oregon discussion page, like what are the good youth sports, where's after school care, that sort of thing, and have it be sort of a one-stop shop. And I think we accomplished that. So that was just like a little snippet from the event, and my way of, I sent that to all the vendors and sponsors just to say thank you, because once again, it was fabulous. So thank you to all who came. At the event, I did have a village table, and I wanted it to be useful and kind of give information I could to help to help families here in the village. So I created a couple documents that I handed out. The first is the Parks Guide. So those are the majority of our kid-friendly parks, and it gives an address. It lets you know what's available there. Is there a playground? Is there a place to have a picnic? Are there bathrooms? That sort of thing. These were flying off the table. I was so shocked at how popular they were, and a lot of parents pointed out, this is great because a lot of families do the summer bucket list, and they're like, hey, now we have one. And a lot of parents mentioned my kids called the parks these crazy names, and now to have a visual that they can point to and say, I mean this park, they were very grateful. And at some point, I'd like to get that on the website and then have it be kind of a normal component of village outreach. And then along with that, there we go. I handed out this handout as well about our reservable spaces here in the village. I went around that week before and counted seating and checked out all the amenities and made sure everything was up to date, and put pricing information all in one spot. And I don't know if it's just coincidence or because of that, but I am flooded with reservations of all kinds right now. So hopefully it worked. And yes, I'm aware of the spelling errors, and they've been corrected. All right, and then looking to the status of facility reservations. While we're on that, as I said, I'm being flooded like with all different sorts of birthday parties, graduation parties, but I'm seeing a lot more different types of events, which I'm really excited about. We actually have, we had a couple groups reserve Waterman Triangle Park this summer. One is a group of local high school bands that are putting on a free concert May 29th, but they got themselves together and organized and rented the space, so that'll be a lot of fun. And same with another group rented Waterman Park they're called the Badger Chord Hawks, and I believe they're an a cappella group. So they are also performing at Waterman Park. So it's been exciting to see all these different reservations coming in rather than just the usual. So I'm really excited. All right, now looking to the future. America celebrates their 250th birthday this 4th of July. So there's more information to come once we get it all together, but there's a lot of moving parts to this. But as far as the villages portion, I'm keeping it very simple. We are going to have a community bike parade the morning of the 4th. So everybody's welcome. It's intended for children, but if you're young at heart and want to participate, you're welcome to. So decorate your bikes, wagons, strollers. It's free to enter, and you get a popsicle at the end. It will start in the parking lot, the Oak Street entrance of the J.C. Park parking lot, go up Brook Street, and end at the Kaiser Park shelter. And there we'll have a dance party and, again, popsicles for all the participants. So decorate a bike if you'd like. Come cheer on the participants, whatever you'd like. Thank you.
Awesome.
And yes, I know that there's a spelling error in that as well. It's been corrected.
Any comments from the park board? Any questions?
I love this.
Thank
I
you.
printed it and bringing it to every park board meeting, actually, so I could be like, oh yeah.
Thank you.
I love how green it is.
What's
I
that?
love how green it is. You cut a good picture day for a lot of the
I
parks, right?
really
Yeah.
did.
You found the one this year, you know.
What's
You
that?
found the one green day this year.
I
so far,
did.
Yeah, sunny.
Yep, kids were still in school, so they were nice and empty. It was perfect.
So are you getting this out to the school so that they can put these in their backpack the last day of school? or-
Oh, I could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a wonderful idea.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was. I thought it was kind of a good idea, but then the reception it got at Kids Fest, I was blown away. I was so excited.
Awesome. Any other comments from the park board? Thank you, Leanne.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. So those are the item 8C. So now we're on to 8A, unfinished business, discussion review of the draft park naming policy. So I think we're waiting on.
Wait no longer, it's here. So, if you remember a couple months ago, over the winter, I think it was, we had a family from soccer, sort of the founder of Oregon Soccer Club, has passed away, and his family wanted to honor him in some way by naming a field after him. And since we haven't gotten a naming request in a while, we thought it was probably time to have some sort of a policy, procedure, and go through all that. So it's just one page there. So Leanne did a great job of gathering up examples from neighboring communities and sort of Frankensteining them together. And as we reviewed this a couple times at the park board, remember there was a lot of details about, length of time that should be, presented and heard, and what are the goals and what things do we want to name things after and not name things after. And before we took this to the board or anything, I shared this with Larry Konopacki, who's our village attorney, and he said, wow, this is a lot. It's very repetitive, but also probably more than you really need to know. This is it's still a subjective process, right? If the name is right, or, it feels justified, this person made, a significant contribution to the community, or, this is something that's a nature related, a geographical feature related to the area, it's still subjective, and ultimately, you all are a recommending body to the village board. He felt that we should really trim back this policy and really just make this more about an information to the public about what is the process. So if I do have, my grandmother made a big contribution to the community, I'd like to honor her in some way. How to come forward, basically, how to contact staff. Then you come to park board, make a presentation, make a recommendation to the village board. And then obviously village board can agree with that, or, make a change or something at a board meeting. So it's really trimmed back. He said, obviously we can add more. I know we talked about, there's a 30-day waiting period, or, notification or something like that. Obviously all park board meetings are public information. We could add something here that, it's presented at one meeting and then the subsequent meeting maybe is voted on or something like that. So I just really trimmed this back. Larry said, you know, he was happy with this, but certainly supportive if there's elements that you all thought were important to add back in. But long story short, I think this is really just, again, explaining what areas can be named, and if you have an idea to name something, kind of how to go through the steps. So, that's where we're at with that, but happy to take any ideas and feedback back to Larry, and we can present something else. But I know that it's the Martin family, right? I think from soccer.
Yes.
They've checked in, or Eric Anderson from soccer, I think has checked in at least once, maybe twice over the last few months. Just, hey, you guys,
What's going on?
yep, moving on this so we can acknowledge and kind of wrap the request.
Any thoughts, comments?
Just first, thanks for taking all of those documents and getting to something that we can actually understand easily. So,
Yeah.
no, I like this. Thank you.
Think there's anything missing out of here that we should be itemizing? Kind of. I know I think we kind of got into the let's get as detailed as possible to try to cover things, but unfortunately, you're always going to have something different.
Yeah.
I think this falls back into the subjective side. It's like
Yeah.
just leave it.
And we have the
open-ended.
attorney look at it, so I'm satisfied with it.
Yeah, I think the statement here in the selection criteria that just says, you know, what's your name that you want considered along with the reason for the requested name kind of covers any possible reason. If somebody's like, oh, you know, I always see whatever, great horned owls here, or my mom really liked going to this park or walking this trail or something like that. It, you know, we don't have to list out every possible scenario that somebody might want to name something. So, I felt like it was, you know, it kind of covers all bases. Again, as far as like, I don't know if you think, Jamie, I know that was one thing you felt strongly about, like notification. I don't know if, you know, as far as like, has anybody come forward, like protest this name, or, you know, does anybody not support this marriage of two people or something like that? But, you know, it would at least be at 2 meetings, like at a minimum, park board and then village board too. So obviously not everybody's paying attention to the agendas, and I don't know if we'd put out any specific, you know, like press release that this is being considered. I'm open to ideas if you think that's something that people would want to be aware of, or I
think
guess
it's still
if we
worthwhile
foresee
that
anything
we-
that would be a problem, I guess.
I think it's still worthwhile, but we can, as a park board, still take that as like consideration. So if something comes up and look at it, like, well, let's table it for the next meeting. So
Right.
we
I mean,
can-
there's nothing in this document that says we have to vote on it at that time.
No.
But by putting a time frame in there, then we're kind of handcuffed to doing that. So I think it's fine leaving that out.
Can go as fast or slow as you want.
Right.
Yeah, if people come forward and you need to do some more research on the name or something, that person, then we got time to do that.
Right.
You want to move that forward to the village board?
I'm okay with that.
Put a motion on.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay, Judy got second. All right. Any other discussion in regards to it? All in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. So moved. Thank you very much for putting that work in,
Yeah, of
Leanne,
course.
as well, getting all of the background, the historical. I think that's valuable for us to get the right information. Then item 8B, Parks Capital Improvement Plan, the SIP review.
I'll speak to this just a little bit and hopefully leave some time for discussion. This is kind of step one in a 2-step, I guess, presentation and collaboration with the park board on the 2027-2036 Parks and Trails CIP. So as this board knows, every year staff gets direction to put together a capital improvement plan. And we try to get it in front of the relevant committees. It gets tight because typically we get that at the end of April, and we turn in our first drafts, which are, for all intents and purposes, supposed to be the best that we can come up with in June. So this can get a little dicey because it's hard to turn around, you know, a full CIP, especially for park board, within 2 weeks. So at the May meeting, but if we get it for the first time in front of the park board in the June meeting, there's very little time to then incorporate feedback from the park board and get something that hopefully everybody has thought about and is excited about. So this year we're trying something slightly different. We wanted to bring the CIP from last year to the board and refresh everybody's memory, have a conversation about priorities, get kind of a list in front of you guys of what are projects that we've thought about over the year that we already know that we'd like to incorporate in some way or change around in some way, and get feedback on that so that you guys have as good a picture as we do at this point. And if there is a certain priority or something that you have noticed over the year that you'd really like addressed, we can get that and build that in as we're kind of constructing the whole thing and come back in June and present something that hopefully reflects your vision for the parks over the next 10 years. So the biggest things that I'll highlight here are just the proposed adjustments from that 2026 to 2035 plan to the updated plan. And I will also note that we did have a staff meeting actually this morning to talk about this particular CIP. So there are a couple of other projects that we've been toying around and kind of starting to formulate. But these are probably the biggest ones that are newer or are going to be really impactful, particularly in this next year. So the first is a new project. It's building off of a project that we are doing this year. So it's the very exciting sounding Facilities Access Control Project. And this is, as I said, it's going to be an extension of the Public Works Garage access control system that we are putting in this year. And what it essentially is a fob system. So it is going to be an electronic lock system for all of our major facilities. So really, it's going to be the J.C. Park concession stand, the bathrooms at J.C., like the old bathrooms at J.C. Park. So the concession stand bathrooms we're actually building into this year's project, but some of the other doors will build into next year's, as well as that old restroom facility on the east side of the park, the Kaiser restrooms, the new Bethel Greenacre restrooms, and the Highlands. That's it. I knew I was going to forget one. This is something that has the ability to dramatically increase staffing efficiency. So right now our staff spends a lot of time going out, especially on weekends, unlocking bathrooms, checking bathrooms, making sure things are good. This will give us the ability to kind of program all of that in. So bathrooms open at 7 a.m. They close automatically at 8 p.m. So we know that there's a very good chance that nothing is happening in that window. This is also something that our police department has asked for because this is a major source of uncertainty for them. They can't see what's happening, and there's a possibility we don't get things locked. Human error happens. So this is going to be a big help for us. We're going to look at doing this at other village facilities as well, but really wanted to highlight that parks portion of this project. I'll leave Kaiser and come back to that because that's probably the most kind of exciting visionary project. The Park Street Connector Trail, I did want to highlight because it was scheduled for this year. That's a project that I think has been kind of in some form of planning for quite a while now. It's one that we did postpone this year. We wanted to tackle some other ones, and we wanted to be able to give this one the consideration it deserves. It's looking likely that it will need some real estate acquisition, which always slows things down a little bit. So what we are currently tentatively planning, and this was Elisa's great idea, is that road, Park Street between Perry and Janesville is, especially in some places, in pretty rough shape. So how do we maybe tie this path to a road project in there so that we're kind of disturbing this all at once and thinking about the road as a cohesive whole? And so we'll look to maybe try to schedule that wherever we can get that stretch of Park Street in the CIP for streets. Lastly, the Kaiser Fireman's Park Master Plan. So this was in the CIP last year. It was programmed for 2032. It was in there really because we were coming off of the J.C. Park project, which had taken up kind of a lot of conversation in the community, and it was a major community park project. We really wanted to focus in the CIP and I think in practice last year on some of the neighborhood parks and make sure that we were, hitting those and making clear that those weren't forgotten. That said, there have been a number of kind of signs from different directions that staff have picked up this year that have us kind of throwing out the idea to this board of maybe let's consider bringing that up into next year. And on our side being Public Works, we are running into a kind of serviceable life issue on a number of the facilities out at Kaiser. So this board has heard a lot about the skate park. That is not only kind of got a lot of artwork, but as skaters have told us, it's in pretty rough shape and there are starting to be safety concerns. And it's hard to get people excited about skating on a skate park that isn't really in the best of shape. And at 20 years, that's a pretty decent lifespan for that kind of facility. So what do we do with that facility? The tennis courts have been somewhat out of service for quite a while now. Folks know about the lighting, and that went out for safety reasons a couple of years ago, but those courts are also in pretty rough shape, just the surface is not great. We've got issues with the fencing around Kaiser softball fields that is approaching in some areas a safety concern. And we've got issues with the lighting around there, and given that JC doesn't have lighting yet, those are some of our only lit ball sport fields. So we've got that on one hand. The other thing that we've got going on is quite a lot of activity in our downtown. So we have a new senior center. We have a lot of discussion about what's going to happen to the old Village Hall, what's going to happen with Waterman Triangle Park. What does that whole area look like, and how does the entire downtown kind of cohesively work for the community and for those businesses? And so staff kind of thought that this is really probably part of that discussion. What does make sense as far as programming at Waterman Triangle Park? What makes sense as far as maybe getting off that main drag and making, a space in a quieter park? How do these kind of all work together as a very walkable space? So kind of putting all of those things together, we thought it was maybe a reasonable idea to think about moving that up so we could have the whole picture as we move through 2027 in that downtown area. So that was longer than I intended to speak. Thanks for bearing with me, and we'd love any feedback, questions, comments, anything that you guys see as a priority that you'd like us to implement.
Sure, I'll jump in.
Hey, Andy.
So you want to do planning for Kaiser Fireman's Park, the master planning, you want to move the funding to that up to 2027. What about construction after that? Because, that wasn't even on the 10-year plan.
Yep. No, that's a great question. And the answer is we don't know. So we wouldn't build anything in on construction yet because we don't have a great idea of what the community really wants out there. One thing that I think we've all learned at a staff level with the Bethel Greenacre master planning process is, at least speaking for myself, how little I knew about how important a master plan was. I think that really came through with the West Side Parks too. A couple of years ago, we really didn't have any projects for that. And based on Morgan's work, we were able to put together $4 or $5 million over 10 years to get some projects that I certainly would never have been able to conceptualize. So we kind of want to get that information before trying to turn it into a construction, plan. And some of this may be, we're going to look at this in phases. Some of this may be, we want to do something, but it's 10 years out. So fix the fence now, fix the tennis courts now, invest maybe $200,000 now. But there is a desire to put in a third softball field in 10 years. So we just don't know what that's going to look like. And so we will keep it out for now, unless this board has kind of some feedback on something they definitely like seeing in the plan now.
Sure, but without doing the master plan, you don't know what projects you want to have. So that's why it makes sense to do the master plan now,
Yeah.
as opposed to waiting with that.
Right.
I'd be fine with that. The one thing that I don't wanna see, again, is that west side properties development. Seeing as how nothing has really happened over there aside from, burning, it's a real easy thing to get moved out every year, and it has been getting moved out every year.
Right.
And I don't wanna see that
Sure.
again. I'd rather see some development over there.
Sure.
Other comments? Matt?
So I understand with the master plan, it's basically a plan without funding behind it. Is that right? I mean, there's funding, but it hasn't been really allocated yet, or?
So, yeah, like for, Bethel Green Acres, we're developing that, or Geridish Park, for example. We could have designed the park and then decided we're not gonna, usually what happens is we kind of do the, community engagement, park design, usually bid kind of over the holiday time, and then do a construction project sort of spring through fall of the next year. There's nothing to say that we have to go into bidding right away. So, but yeah, the plan is basically taking, a survey of what's out there, listening to the community, focus groups, interviews, what do we want to see, and then trying to, create basically a design goes from like conceptual just sketches to eventually like design documents and construction documents that could be bid and that are all, scaled and have a list of these are the equipment, pieces that need to be purchased. This is the amount of dirt that needs to be moved, whatever. So usually with the master plans, we'll have an estimated cost, and that's in those, today's dollars, whenever that point in time is. But if it's a plan that we decide we're going to sit on for a while, or maybe it's a phased plan, then obviously you can act on pieces of that plan. But yeah, we haven't for a while. I think maybe like Highlands and Netherwood Park is probably one of the last ones that we've done recently where we didn't really do a master plan. It was more just kind of decided at a staff level. Here's the park playground. We worked with Rattler again. We did a path and things, but I don't think there was a whole robust, what does the community want to see in that park? It was that neighborhood was sort of pretty new at the time, not a lot of people living out there. So it was more, we're going to build this ahead of a lot of folks being near the park to just make some executive decisions about what we want to have out there. But typically we like to reach out more to the community and see, especially the people in the neighborhood. And businesses and other folks that use those spaces.
I 100% support that, by the way. I think that's the way to do it. And so I don't know if this is the right venue now, but I'm sure Lauren already knows what I'm about to say. So how do we go ahead and put in barriers around retention ponds and all of that into this CIP draft?
Yeah, is that part of the parks?
That's-
We can start with the parks.
Yeah, no, that's actually probably a stormwater. We do have a tiny little stormwater section of our CIP. It has like maybe 3 projects that are out in like 2033. So that would be where we would, start to look at putting something like that in and putting money like that in. But that's certainly something that we could have that conversation here too, because given that we're a small village, we do kind of cross over, public works, parks, they do have that overlap. So yeah, I think this is a venue to talk about it for sure.
Well, let's throw some statistics at you real quick. So last year, 75 autistic children died across the country, and the number one cause of death is water drowning, right? So in the state of Wisconsin, right now, it's a law around a pool, which is partly a cause of those deaths, right? You have to have a barrier up around it. There's not a law that says you have to have a barrier up around retention and stormwater ponds. So with that in mind, I strongly recommend that, as I think a lot of you know. So I just want to put it out there for either discussion, consideration, or whatnot. That's it.
Other comments? I agree that Kaiser is used heavily when you really get down to it. It's certainly certain seasons that it takes place, above and beyond the soccer, soccer taking all the other parks. But you see a lot of the activity with lights being on, and they use it quite a bit. And so I think getting some focus in regards to that, it certainly does play into a little bit of the development that is taking place into it. And getting that awareness of like, so what does take place with all the everything else, I think makes a lot of sense to focus on that as well. So it does seem to make sense. There's a couple other things in 2026 that I was somewhat curious about. So I'm assuming that the solid surface maintenance, is that kind of a plan for the year? Is there some I think that was just money just in case.
Yes,
So-
that's money we hope we never touch.
Okay, that's great.
But we
I didn't
don't
know.
want to be in a position where we don't have it and haven't
Okay.
budgeted for it if we need it.
Okay, so that's just in case. There isn't a proactive approach to doing anything else. Is that the same thing with the John Blanchard fence repair? 50,000 for, if we're talking about the repair on the dog park?
So that's actually in progress.
it?
We'll start to post, but it looks like we're gonna shut down the dog park for that as well as for just general refreshing of some of the gravel pads starting the 20th of May. So, and we'll get that posted on the village website, and up at the dog park itself. But yep, that one's gonna happen this year.
Awesome. Other, those are the only thoughts I had in particular about it, but I think it makes a lot of sense to look at that overall, and those are the other couple of things. Any other thoughts from the park board?
Just so I understand it, so it's at 75,000 in 2032 that we'd be moving up to 20.
For
47?
Kaiser?
Yeah, as a starting point.
It's just for the plan.
Yeah.
Can we sell that number?
I think we put 70,000 this morning.
Yeah, for Kaiser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we'd be moving up to 2027, essentially. So we'd have to take the money from somewhere else, right? Is kind of the.
Yeah, so the way like the CIP works is all the CIPs, streets, planning, police, everything kind of gets added together, and then the first draft of that, Martin and Lisa will take a look at what's our debt, capacity, and then we start to try to trim back from there and move projects around a little bit. So that's kind of how the budgeting process works. So it's not always that something else is moved or taken out, but other things we realized that they could. I think in like our version we worked on this morning, we shifted a couple other things out a little further. I think was Gassner was one that had planning in 27. We moved that I think to 28, 29. But yeah, just this morning the Kaiser plan, I think we put $70,000 in there just because inflation, right? Things that are out further, we know what they might cost now, so we're trying to make our best guesses in the future if we do that plan. So if we do it sooner, it might be a little cheaper in today's dollars versus 5 years from now.
Okay, because I kind of mimic Andy, or I do. So nothing's been taken out of West Side Park yet. It's just okay.
No, yeah.
Does it look like? Well, you just said it comes from everywhere, but for the 2026 projects, is there extra money? Maybe that we're not gonna
Sometimes.
spend? Okay.
So we try to budget conservatively, and right now Gary Dish Park did come back a little higher than expected. So we're likely not gonna have any excess over, we're almost certainly not gonna have any excess over what was in the CIP last year for Gary Dish. We did have some remaining money from JC that we were able to dip into to kind of lessen that impact on 26. Sometimes you get some crossover. We're pulling some prior year borrowing that we did for the Keller Alpine Trail to be able to fund cemetery paving, for instance, this year. And so that's money that we didn't end up having to borrow this year. So some debt capacity that we saved there. So the short answer is possibly, depending on how the chips kind of fall at the end of the year and how much contingency we actually end up using in the projects that we bid out this year. Because we do always budget that 10% contingency when we set up our borrowing. And so we sometimes do have, if we do our jobs right and things go well, we sometimes do have some of that extra money to play with at the end.
Okay. Yeah, I think it makes sense to move it up too, but I would like to see West Side Park continue down its road just as a thought statement, whatever.
That's our hope too.
All right, very good. Thank you for that information. Appreciate it.
I have one more thing,
Yeah.
if I could. So you'll probably notice the heavy hitter for next year is Bethel, as being a construction project. So at the next park board meeting, a lot of things are gonna start happening very, very quickly in this next month. But what will happen is that we'll both present kind of a draft final version of this CIP with your guys' input, but we'll also have JT here to present their master plan and the budget for that at that meeting. And it's likely that they will have, so we've seen some really preliminary budget numbers. They have stuck to what's in the CIP right now, that kind of $1.5 million range. But likely they'll have some feedback from the community and some options as to, you know, is this something that the board wants to consider even though it goes above budget? Do they not want to consider that and we really want to keep it at 1.5? Do we want to come below 1.5? So we will have probably an updated number for that, but there will also be that kind of piece for the board to think about and consider recommending we move ahead with at that meeting. So some things will kind of shift there kind of in real time.
Okay, good to know. Very good. Any other thoughts from the park board?
I just have one. How much is sand to like put it in? Just out of curiosity, it's like a couple hundred, or are we talking thousands?
No, you'd be probably in the hundreds, not the thousands, yes.
Just for the one sandbox?
Yeah.
you're thinking?
Well, if we raise the money, what would that cost us?
We haven't bought sand in so long that I don't know what it's going for these days, but I can check on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not gonna buy the nicest sand that's ever been made, right?
We're
All
gonna
right,
get it from
very good.
Florida. It's gonna be nice sand.
Very good. Thank you for that, that update. Appreciate that. Item 9, new business, 9A. Talking about pickleball courts reservation request. Is that Mr. Barone? Take your time, no rush.
I'm not on drugs right now. I'm moving slow.
Fair enough. Good to do. Glad you're moving. That's
Yeah, me too. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Barone. We live at 631 Bergamot Boulevard here in Oregon. My wife Colleen in the back and I have been residents of the village for 30 years now. My purpose here today is to chat a little bit. I saw some emails that went between Leanne and Alex Marks, the Director of Community Education and Recreation here with the school district. And it was in regard to the pickleball courts and the reservation system. I must have missed the meeting. We could have been down south. I think it was either in December or January where it was talked about, but I'm starting to catch up now. Normally you would see a cast of thousands behind me with the pickleball community and Alex Marks and the folks, but we thought we don't need to do that today. I'm just gonna come and chat with you and kind of fill in some of the behind the scenes details that the board may not be aware of. So the real purpose for me here today is to ask you to revisit the court reservations for the pickleball courts. In particular, I would like the park board, and the request is for the park board to sponsor a community play pickleball. And as such, being a village-sponsored activity, Leanne could block out the times for morning community play and evening community play. Now, we've been doing this since 2017, and maybe the board hasn't realized this. This has been going on for a long time. It's been a partnership amongst 3 different groups. And the reason that this is important, I'm going to give you 3 different reasons actually. But I think one of the things that's going to come to your mind is if Leanne blocks out the court time in the morning and in the evening for community play pickleball, what about the other sports that are in the JC Park? And I would say that community play pickleball is completely and 100% different than the other sports. From the standpoint that when we have community play pickleball, we are there for everybody and anybody that walks up to the pickleball courts to play. Whereas any other sport that's in JC Park, you don't have that opportunity. You can't just walk up and play baseball and when there's teams that are out there or when there's other play that's going on. But community play is designed, and it's been designed that way since when Amy Miller, Mark's wife, was the director of community ed. We've designed it that way so everybody and anybody can come out and play, and it happens.
And the reason that we want to be able to block it out, there's actually two main reasons and then a third benefit. And I'm going to give you a real life scenario here. On any given evening, we could have 30, 40, 50 players at the pickleball courts. Now, if they're not blocked out for community play pickleball, Mark could go ahead and reserve a court. And he could show up at 6 o'clock in the evening when we have 40 players there, and he could say, sorry guys, I've got court number 1. So now we're condensing 40 players down into 5 courts because we have 6 courts. And then all of a sudden Andy shows up at 6:30 and says, I reserved a court at 6:30. Now we've condensed more players into less courts. Instead of being able to meet the needs of the community and be able to rotate players through on a routine basis. So by having them blocked out and considering them for community play pickleball, we are able to keep players rotating in and out, and people, the community has known this since 2017, so we don't have any issues. This is a real life issue that happens at other communities in their pickleball courts if they don't have regulations around that. Another thing we can do, that we do because the courts are reserved, is we can control play. And what I mean by that is when we get more than 24 people at the courts, so 4 people on a court, 6 courts, 24 people, we move into a 4-on and a 4-off system. So people do not hog the courts. So we can keep them moving and flowing with that, and we control the what's happening with the courts. The other piece of that is that by controlling the courts, we can also control, when it gets real busy, we can control how long the games are played. Normally a game is played to 11, win by 2. If they get real busy, we can control it and say, look, we're gonna move to 9, we're gonna play to 9, so these 4 people can move off and we can keep people flowing through the courts. And again, it's community, so everybody knows what's going on out there, and there's never been any kind of problems with this because we've established it in 2017. Now, the benefit of doing this is that the folks here may not realize it, but we have had kind of a 3-legged stool partnership between the village, the community ed folks, and the pickleball community. And what I mean by that is the village has always blocked off the courts for us for community play. Community education and recreation through the Oregon School District has always supplied us with paddles, balls, and anything else that I need out on the courts. And that's a big thing because as 4 new players come on, they've never played, we have paddles for them. And we want to be able to maintain that. And then the 3rd leg of that stool is the pickleball community. And what I mean by that is I sat down with Lauren and Eric a couple years ago, and with their blessing, we take on a number of things that Eric would have to do. The board doesn't know that. I don't have to call Eric for this stuff because he knows I'm taking care of it. And here's some examples. I spent 3 hours the day before my surgery last week repairing the windscreens with zip ties because they bust off. I don't have to call Eric and get on that because I can go get it done and he knows I'm going to get it done. Community ed and recreation supplies me with 2,000 zip ties. I keep them in my truck. So I've got tools and I just go take care of it. It was 3 weeks ago, I think, Eric saw me out there putting up the nets to open up the courts. I didn't have to use his guys or Eric to do it. He doesn't have any people right now. So Eric didn't have to worry about it. I took him completely out of the equation, but I spent 3 hours with some of the other pickleball folks putting up the nets and installing them the proper way. So this is the kind of partnership that's been going on for a long time. And I would like to be able to maintain that by making sure that we do have community play and everybody understands that we're going to continue to have community play and it would be sponsored by the village. So in summary, I just wanted to give you the kind of more of the background. I know there's a whole push about money and court reservations. The courts can still be reserved outside of community play. Right now, community play is every morning from 7:30 until 10 o'clock. And then Monday through Friday evenings from 5:30 until dusk. And I would request that the board maintain that, sponsor community play pickleball, have Leanne block that out for us for this year and into the future years so we don't have to go through this every year.
Thoughts?
For sure, thanks for coming tonight. And I think this is not the first time we've seen you.
No.
No, thanks for that. I thought long and hard as we were getting ready for this meeting. And so with community play, right? Totally agree with it. And my question is, isn't it already community play if it's not reserved? I mean, it's just if you guys let everybody who shows up play, what's the difference between having a reservation? You kind of ran into it like the control of the course and that. Kind of get it. Couldn't that still be possible and then you wouldn't have to pay a fee?
It is possible, but like I was mentioning earlier, if Andy reserves a court and Mark reserves a court during the time frame of community play, now we have less courts. And we still have a lot of people condensed into less courts. So what we're trying to guarantee is that the courts will be open for players when they come during community play. We don't want just, and how the reservations work is if Mark shows up with a reservation from Leanne and says, I've got the court at 6 o'clock. He's got the court with his 4 or 3 or 5 people. Nobody else can get on the court. He owns that court for 2 hours, and there's not much we can do about it. So we're trying to alleviate any heartache and any potential fights that could take place at the courts by that happening. If we just say it's community play, everybody is welcome. It doesn't matter if you're a 5-year-old or if you're a 95-year-old.
Have you found that happening?
It's happened in other communities, yes.
Okay, just not.
Yeah, I was a member of the board of directors for the Capillary Pickleball Association for a lot of years, and we take care of the area. We made specific attempts to not to have that happen here by the rules we put in play years ago. But it has happened at other communities, and I've seen it happen.
Personally, I think it sounds like a great idea to block off the community playtimes, and honestly, like, it would be kind of cool to see it across the board. Like you said, the sports, it's different for baseball for someone to pick up, but I mean, that makes it available for everyone, regardless of ability to pay at some points. But yeah, I don't know, it sounds like a no-brainer to me.
Can I add out of that? And I just want to be upfront with you, sir. So to me, I don't like the idea of differentiating between sports at all. Understanding that pickleball is different than soccer is different than baseball, and right? I think we can all make these arguments, and you guys do have a very unique arrangement. So without that, I do not support changing the fee structure. I think it's an open court, just like all of our fields, without the reservations. So I just want to be upfront with you on that, and I appreciate you coming.
I'll add some comments to that, Mike. I mean, you're right, because without having these blocked off, there's nothing stopping the neighbors from reserving the courts for a night and just saying, no, I don't want to hear tunk, 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 for 3 hours. Matt, to your point about the reservation fees and stuff, it would be different if the Friends of Pickleball weren't doing anything. We talked about this in one of our earlier meetings about the fundraising, whether it's fundraising for the lights or the fundraising to get this put into phase 1 of it. And it's similar to the other agreement we have, or not really agreement, but conversations we've had with soccer as far as their field reservation fees. So, I mean, I would be in favor of blocking this off as long as that relationship didn't change. All of a sudden it comes to the point where, Mike, hey, I can't do this year, or I'm overwhelmed with something else and no one else wants to pick it up. Well, then at that point, then maybe we have to revisit, the agreement with that.
Yeah, and the relationship you have with parks in the school, or the rec center in the school, like, I think that's pretty spectacular, actually.
Right.
And you'll teach people to play. It sounds like, maybe I'm fantasizing all of this in my head, but it sounds like a really great.
I just have a quick
scenario.
question.
Sure.
So through community ed and rec during the indoor play, like, there's a fee, correct? Like, the catalog says it's $100 for an unlimited pass, and then like $10 like drop-in fee?
There is a fee structure. I'm not involved with that, but it's because
Okay.
it's indoors with the school system. And the facility is there, so I don't know the ins and outs of it, but yes, there is a fee, Leanne.
Okay.
And Mike has gone to Florida, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not playing in.
We get out of here.
You're
so.
playing outside.
Yeah.
I know one thing that, our fees with the shelters and, it helps cover the wear and tear and also, cleanup and things like that too. I know community play, it's a significant number of hours per week, and obviously you guys are contributing in other ways with the maintenance of the nets and the windscreens and things too. But I think that was part of the intent with kind of updating the fee structure, and we've talked about, relative costs to other communities. I think we're still pretty far behind. People are getting a good deal for, the field reservations and things like that too. But I guess that's maybe a point of discussion, just if there's some recoup of kind of the wear and tear, just given the number of hours of use per week for community play. Maybe it's not an hourly structure, but maybe some other kind of structure to kind of help contribute to some of those repairs. I don't know if that's something that you all would want to consider, but just as we kind of think about how you all want to move forward, the fee structure as it is in place today, you all would need to move forward to recommend this to village board for any kind of change from that fee structure. If you don't take any action, the current, fee structure would remain in place if anybody wanted to reserve courts.
Because we're in place for the season,
Yeah,
essentially.
only the board can
I have
make
a
that
question
change.
to go with that though. So with the fee structure, we have fees for residents, we have fees for non-residents, and we have fees for nonprofit groups. What does the school district fall in? Where does the school district fall in with that fee? Because if the school district comes in, if Alex comes in and says, hey, I would like on behalf of the school district, community and rec, on behalf of the school district to reserve this, I mean, that leaves Mike and Friends of Pickleball out of it because they're not making the reservations. That's why we were, on some of our other discussions, we said, well, they're not a nonprofit. It's, community play. Yes, it's open for the community, but the courts are open all the time for the community to play. So we've kind of waffled on reservation fee versus no reservation fee. So I guess to kind of get to the point of this, like, would you charge the school district if they said we want to reserve these?
I mean, that is a good question. So probably not. But I mean, so for example, the high school uses the courts. I think they're using them this week for gym class from 1:30 to 3, and that's it. And then every once in a while, they maybe move a soccer practice to one of our fields. It's pretty minimal, but also when our parks are under construction, they help us out and they host our sports orgs. So there's a reciprocity there.
Do you charge the school district for their reservations?
Community Ed and Rec, no, but Community Ed and Rec, I've never booked anything through them. This is the first time Alex made the reservations. Usually it's through like Mike or Jerome or, I'm blanking on the other gentleman's name, I apologize. But OSD, no, they are not charged, again, because they help us out when our fields are under construction. They give us space.
I mean, to me, that seems like a workaround with not having to go through the whole fee structure again.
Yeah, Laura and I were just chatting. I think the school district doesn't necessarily cleanly fall into one of those groups, so that might be something we would want to get maybe some advice from Larry, our village attorney, on. Does he think that they kind of clearly fall under one of those categories within our policy, or we need to add like a separate category for an organization like the school district? So we could do a little reconnaissance and report back in June, but in the meantime, I know you guys have started open play, but nothing has been reserved so far,
Right, that
correct?
is
So,
correct.
but
With the weather changing, that's gonna get busy.
sure, yeah. Yeah, as far as are these the same hours and days of the week that you all have requested in the past? So
Yes.
every weeknight, every morning?
Well, every morning.
Yes.
7 days a week, 7:30 to 10.
Mhm.
And then the evenings, Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday's wide open if people want to reserve the courts, because they're not working and whatever the case may be, but, yeah. And if I could, I would like to build off of what Andy was saying and actually what Elise just said, because maybe you don't have the clearer picture of what we do at the courts. And you were talking about cost and how these reservations and the money that goes towards maintenance and that type of thing. There's a few things that happen that we do to help with that particular problem. One is, in particular, we wash the courts. We bought a water broom and hoses Eric lets us hook up to the shed that's right there, and occasionally we wash the courts and get the dirt and grime off of that. That helps maintain the longevity of the court surface. You still have to replace that surface every 5 years or so, but we do maintain that. The windscreens that are up there, that the Friends of Oregon Pickleball purchased and turned over to the village, every fall, we roll those things up, and every spring, we take them down, unroll them, and we lash them to the fence. By rolling them up, it extends the longevity of the courts, or the longevity of the windscreens. So when you look at money and you look at how you're adding to the value of the courts, those are some of the things that we do, not only to supplement Eric with the manpower, but to add value to the courts, so hopefully we don't have to spend as much money into the future. We get another year or two out of those windscreens, or maybe 5 years out of those windscreens, that's $7,000 the village has saved. You don't have to buy new ones. So those things are important when we talk about, the agreement that we're gonna stay involved. Yeah, absolutely. Other than a knee replacement that I can't do anything right now, but, I've got people that are over there doing things. So that is our request, that we do this as a village-sponsored activity, community play, mornings and evenings, and then have Leanne block it out, and hopefully we don't have to talk about this again forever.
So you don't do Saturdays and Sundays?
I'm sorry?
You don't reserve Saturdays and
Not
No.
evening.
Not evening,
Evening.
just
No,
the morning,
just in the morning.
7:30 to 10.
We get big crowds, Judy, in the morning because nobody is working. They jump over there in the morning before their activities get started, and then off they go. And then the courts are wide open for reservations for walk-up play.
So I guess it kind of comes down to, one, whether the reservation through the school district or community ed would be sufficient to do that, or also if you want to look at all of the in-kind activities that are happening in lieu of
Okay.
the straight reservation fees.
So I just have a quick question, and I'm being serious, this is not rhetorical. So, I mean, not to the dollar extent of pickleball, but a lot of our sports orgs could say the same thing.
Yep.
They're providing a service, they're paying for that particular space. They help Public Works out with dugouts, they have parent volunteers that paint lines. Again, not to that extent, but they're gonna come to me and say, why are they getting this exception and we are not?
Then they
So what is it that I'm supposed to say?
Tell them to come here.
Yeah, but then we're kind of back at square one.
Well, and I think the point, what he was saying is anyone can play. So if you're just doing that for softball and nobody else can come and do a pickup game or like,
Right.
I want to play softball today during community time. Are you going to teach me how to play? Are you going to have the equipment available for me? Are you going to give me the space, change the rules so we can all like rotate in and out? Then maybe there's a community time for softball from whatever, maybe it's the same 7:30 to 10, Monday through Friday or something, or maybe, I don't know. But I think that's the difference of what he was saying versus just like parent volunteers and.
I see your point. Yeah, I see your point.
And I think there's one other point of clarification. This was probably before Leanne was involved, but I know in particular when Amy Miller was running Community Ed and Rec, you may have seen, this board probably didn't, but I may have been involved with asking for court time, but it was actually through Community Ed and Recreation. So there is precedent there way back to 2017. And Mark could verify that very easily.
So what if you sign that up under the school?
So one thing I was having Rich pull up here, so we actually separated in the updated fee schedule pickleball courts from other like fields and shelters and things. So right now it's resident and non-resident. So we don't have a nonprofit category that would be exempt from reserving pickleball. Maybe it's because we haven't had other community like Girl Scouts, for example. Oh, we're gonna earn our pickleball badge and I'll be doing that, or it's the high school, very seldom, one-off, we're doing the gym class out there or something like that. So if there were to be maybe a third category added, that would be, a revision to the fee schedule that needs to go through you guys and then the village board. But right now, both residents and non-residents are paying a fee and there's no third category that's exempt.
Yeah,
Well, at least-
great, thanks for finding that.
Yeah.
Well, part of that though too is, unless I'm mistaken, sir, Friends of Pickleball isn't actually a nonprofit organization. It's
We
just-
are not a
it's-
formal
right,
organization.
Right. So, okay.
It's a
We
bank
just
account.
formed that roughly
Yeah.
loosely
Yeah.
when we
It's-
were
it's
raising
to
money
put-
for the
to put a
park.
name on it,
We
yeah.
turned everything over to Lisa. Money, when
Wait.
we were raising money.
Leanne,
You looked at me like.
Like there's anything else we don't know about.
all of it. We did turn over
And I think that's the difference too, is softball giving the money to the village, or like buying the nets, or,
Baseball building the batting cages,
Building the batting
right?
cages.
Right, you all,
No, so, I mean, Leah, to your point
Mhm.
about what makes this different,
Mhm.
I mean, Eric came here for soccer to talk about the fees
Mhm.
and work something out with that.
Mhm.
I mean, I would welcome any other organization to come here, and if they're putting in, you know, something substantial, or, you know, just monetary money, you know, sure, then there's ways to work around that. When I look at what the other organizations raised for JC Community Park
Mhm.
versus what pickleball raised for their portion of JC Community Park, maybe there's a reason why you would give special consideration one way or the other.
Well, didn't, yeah, that's.
So the boys, baseball donated
Yep.
$60,000. And
Softball
softball
did
donated
$20,000.
20,000, yeah.
Right, but that for based on what the cost of the baseball fields, or, you know, the stickball fields would cost in relation to what the donations were.
Right,
I mean, we could get into all crazy numbers
Mhm.
about that, but
Yeah.
that's why I would say I would welcome them to come. If they're gonna say, hey, we're gonna take care of, you know, this project, okay, then maybe you waive the fees for the year.
and the thing to remember too is when those donations were promised by those organizations to the village, that was pre-COVID, and then
Mhm.
COVID hit, and we know
Oh.
what happened to the
Right.
expenses for
Mhm.
building anything took place. But I don't believe the softball and baseball, and I don't know that for sure, they didn't double their fees for kids to come and play.
Mhm.
I mean, that's basically what happened with the park is
Yeah.
COVID hit
Mhm.
and
Oh, yeah.
everything just exploded as far as costs.
Right.
Mhm.
So yeah, one last thing to add. You know, as I look at it, and the fee structure, I think is a good direction across our sports fields in that. So I'll just say, for equality to be present, it has to be applied equally. And that's how I'm looking at this. It's just across the board, who rose this, that's great. And I'm glad the community gets involved and raises money and does maintenance, and it's a wonderful thing. But, you know, it's just, if it's not equal across the board, it's hard to get behind.
Well, here's the other thing too, baseball and everybody else charges, and soccer charges each child to be on there. Pickleball charges 0. So do they charge, if they gotta pay, do they charge the people that wanna play pickleball? That come. A drop-in would be $10, a drop-in would be $5, whatever. Cause I know soccer makes good money.
yeah. I guess to Leanne's point about how the indoor pickleball is set up, I guess what would be your response to saying, how is the outdoor open play different than the indoor open play? As far as kind of, should there be a cost incurred for playing the kind of a?
Well, I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that, but I'll kind of answer it as a resident. You know, you're using the field house at the high school, and there's overhead involved with that, with the janitor and the building and the electricity, and it goes on and on and on. I don't know what the school district does with people that drop in to play basketball or volleyball or any of that kind of thing. The park system is something, as a resident, we've paid for through our taxes, obviously. And I don't know how you would regulate, that's really the crutch of the matter, is how would you regulate charging somebody to play in a public park? I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I don't know how. I don't want to be the pickleball police. And I don't think anybody here does either. So they're a public park. It's open to everybody. That's why the community play is so well received, because they know they can show up, they can get on the court. We have equipment to teach people and to let them use it. And it's easy to learn, and off they go, and they're playing, and they're coming back time and time again. So you'd have to talk more with Alex on, you know, the fee structure. That's what the school district, because not qualified to speak to that.
Just taking all the information in. So then the action here is really to determine if we have an open play, or open it up for Friends of Pickleball to take that. Is that what we're really looking for?
So again, if you don't take any, if you want to have a change, I guess consider the request. It needs to be recommended to the village board. Maybe it needs to be kind of potentially in tandem with the fee.
A new fee.
Structure
Another-
needs to be revised. I mean, the other, like, just if you look at this form, the community room has, you know, a community organizations, no charge. All of the park shelters also have community organizations, no charge. So, and the diamonds and fields too. So do we say, again, in fairness, do we treat the pickleball? Is it any different than any of these other facilities? Should we add that line that's for community organizations? And I guess we can get clarity from Larry if he felt that the school district is a community
Was
organization.
pickleball the only one without community?
Yeah, it looks like
Oh,
that.
mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then to
So-
what you were saying for fairness, I mean, it would make sense for.
So then we could probably bring both those things together. What do you think to the board as far as like
Well, but here's one
the
follow-up
specific
on that.
request and.
It,
Mhm.
it goes back to you guys' status. It's not an organization. So,
But the school district is.
Right,
Yeah.
so yeah, and
Okay.
yeah, all clarity, so Alex Marks from Community Ed and Rec was the one this year, was a little different, right? He explained that, reached out to Leanne and said, here's the hours, here's the days of the week, we'd like to reserve this on behalf of the community open play and advertise it in, I think it actually is advertised in the summer,
I believe so.
guide.
Yep.
The Community Ed and Rec guide is, you know, no charge, and here's the hours and all that, it's already out to print.
So did he pay for it now?
Alex?
Yeah.
No,
You
Oh.
haven't booked anything
correct.
yet, so it's all
Oh.
like they're out there playing. It's not reserved right now, so there could be the potential that somebody came
Oh.
up and said, "Hey, I reserved just for me and my spouse to play, and here's our
Mhm.
receipt from email from Leanne." I don't know if that's happened yet, but obviously
Yeah.
it could happen.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what precipitated me being here, because I saw emails going back and forth between Leanne and Alex. Alex wanted to reserve it, and Leanne was going back and forth with him, a couple emails. And the bottom line was, it was no, because there's a fee structure. And Alex flat out said to me, he said, we can't afford to pay for that. And obviously, as an organization, we don't have money, because we're
Yeah.
not an official organization.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So that's why I wanted to come here and kind of give you the backstory and see if we can get this changed. I think to put a line item in there about a nonprofit is a wonderful workaround, and it solves all of our problems.
If the
So,
school is considered.
That's a community
Right.
organization,
right.
Yeah.
No, and Alex wasn't told no. He was just given the option of like, you know, because the reservation fee is for exclusivity.
Right.
Like, that's literally its purpose. So that's why he said, or that's why I said, you know, we're trying to streamline things, but, you know, this might be kind of the antithesis of that if we go back on a few things. But again, he wasn't told no. He was just said, like, here, you have option A, B, and C. If you want to guarantee that exclusivity, you're going to have to pay. That's actually
Right.
what the payment guarantees, is that reservation, that exclusivity. But open, because, yeah, like softball, they could set up, but they would not be paying a fee because it's not exclusive. It's open to everybody. Like, that's, you know, the differentiation.
Well, then advertise maybe with the rec, like
Mhm.
community softball.
Right,
Under 3,
exactly.
everybody show
Yeah.
up.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex supplies through his budget, like I mentioned earlier, if I need anything at the courts, or if we need anything, balls, paddles, gasoline for the blower, which he bought the blower also, so we can clean the courts off from pine needles and debris. He's more than happy to do that. I mentioned zip ties. I go through a couple thousand zip ties every single year. He buys them, no questions asked. So he just doesn't have money in his budget to be putting out rental fees for the entire summer. And we're talking May through the end of October. That's quite a span.
Mark, I know Lauren had a couple
Oh, you did.
points. Mhm.
Yes. And I don't want to get too, I guess, abstract here, but one thing as we look at this on the same agenda that we're looking at the CIP and as we move into the budget, one thing to consider is maybe the function of fees as a concept. You know, they're not intended to be punitive, they're intended to supplement funding that's coming into the park system as a whole. So, you know, any fees that we pick up from soccer, they might be funding the sand in the sandbox at Meadowview. They might be funding lighting, a pickleball lighting project. That's kind of the concept of this public good. And so it's not just kind of just working on the courts or just funding amenities for that. It's how we kind of share that money across the board so that everyone can take advantage of our park system. So just kind of something to consider.
That's a good point. Not sure the action would take. I think where we're currently at, we could potentially just, because it's already in place already, so we'd look at it making a change. Question is, do we want to move it forward to the village board to see if we make a change?
I mean, could we start with the community organizations and defining who that is and just add a line on the fee structure versus,
They'd still move to the village board, so.
well, but wouldn't you talk to the attorney first? or-
Yeah, we can do that,
Okay.
you know, kind of in the interim, but maybe a motion, if you wanted to move it forward, would be, you know, a motion from the park board to revise the fee structure to add a line under pickleball courts for, you know, reservation by community organizations to be no charge, and then we can get some clarity in the meantime from Larry about if he agreed that the school district would be a community organization. And, you know, based on that, we can put that on a future village board agenda, and then maybe that's just as simple as if they approve that and Larry says yes, then if the reservation is made by the school district, then it would have no charge.
That being on the village board, what do you think of that? What do you think of that as an action, making a motion to do that?
I mean, I think I've made kind of clear where I'm at with it. You know, and I'm being honest with you, sir. No offense intended. Yeah, I mean, we could bring it to the board. I'm gonna recommend no to the board too. I think there needs to be a fee in place, and I believe in the structure of our fees that we've discussed here ad nauseum, because it supports the entire park system. And I do believe in fairness across the board. The deal with the school system and all, I need to look into that myself too, because that seems like a weird kind of workaround maybe. I mean, a school system using village assets seems, you know, rather
Right.
normal to me.
We're
I
not
don't know, but-
necessarily using the school assets in the same way, I think, that that the school district uses ours. Another option, like you mentioned, soccer, you know, in the past, if they've had different arrangements as well. A reduction in the fees too can be, you know, discussed. Maybe it's not touching the fee structure itself, but asking, you know, this is what I would typically be charged, this is gonna be burdensome, but maybe community ed and rec / you know, people that participate, they say, I don't know, I'm just throwing a number out, like $1,000 a year is doable versus, I don't know if you did I think you did the math for Alex, like based on the number of hours, what would be the amount charged for, I think you did the resident, right, times,
Yes.
it was like
I don't
a lot.
remember. It was a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, I mean, sort of like how we've looked at like soccer, you know, the amount they
Mhm.
reserve times the amount,
Mhm.
you know, it's assume that was like $30,000 for soccer, so that was reduced. So there's a couple of different ways I guess we could go about this. Is it more there's something wrong with the fee structure, or is this request, you know, in and of itself in this organization worthy of?
Yeah, I think once we get some clarity on the community play piece with the school, that it'll be easier. And frankly, yeah, I think it should go to the village board at some point. Clearly, I'm in a minority up here tonight, right? So the village board may feel differently. And I'll make the argument there too, like I did here tonight. So that's kind of, that
Judy.
answers your question.
So if I'm understanding all the other fields, or if it's a nonprofit, they're not charged.
Correct. But they have like a 501c3 number
Can we get
they
that?
can provide.
All you gotta do is go online and get it.
We will not do that as Friends of Oregon Pickleball.
Okay.
There's tax implications, there's filings that have to be done.
Every month, every month.
We're not gonna get into that at all. Now, the school district is a whole nother story. They have
Oh,
some
that's-
type of status. I don't know what that is, and I'm not a
So-
money person.
So how many hours do you use on the court per week? 7 days a week, 7 to,
Well, it's not,
Probably
it's not a
50.
quick calculation, Judy, because as the days get longer, we're on the courts longer. So if you said keep round numbers, let's say 5 to 9, that's 4 hours a day, and that's 5 nights, so that's 20 hours, okay? And then in the morning, it's 7:30 to 10, and that's 2.5 hours a day times 7.
Yep, so it's 37.5 hours a week.
Right, times 6,
Yes.
because there's 6 courts.
Yep.
And then you go over the period of
Times
5 or
six.
6 months at whatever
Right.
the
Times
hourly rate
10.
is,
Mm-hmm.
you're
So what's
probably
that
well over
cost per week?
$10,000.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Well, let's check with the attorney. See
Do you
what-
all wanna get some more information, I guess, before you take it to the board? Do you wanna get some feedback and then we can report back in June? It's just in the meantime, we wouldn't be making the reservation, be able to make the reservation for them.
Want to give some thought on this?
so are we saying that anybody can reserve it right now? And if we don't make a deal tonight or vote on it tonight,
That conflict would occur at
the
the
conflict would
court.
occur?
Yeah,
I guess I've been over there and I've played pickleball. I'm not, I have grandkids, so I'm not there often, but, it flows so nicely. So there's no fighting who's on what court and what's on it. And I have been to Verona and I'll tell you, I leave. So that's kind of why I like this.
So they're really managing the court.
They
And so
are.
that's what they're essentially asking is to continue to manage it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're there to manage it, cause, you know,
Just
don't know.
curious, who's there to management? Is it like the city or is it like a
a person.
organization? Like, is it like a resident?
You're saying in Verona, nobody's managing it.
right.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought, yep,
And
there you go.
We have kind of this informal group that's been there forever, and we put out what we call a whiteboard, so that's how to get on and off the courts, and we teach new people how to use it, and the group just kind of manages it, it just kind of happens because we've been doing it for so long. And as Judy said, it flows and it works, we don't have problems.
I think that's a
So-
great asset
And-
to the community.
Yes.
Now, you wanna just say the other communities, what you,
That there's been problems?
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Madison, for one, Garner Park. You mentioned Verona. I've heard of near blows coming in Verona because of this type of thing. There's all communities all the way around us that do have problems off and on. But I would tell you, Madison has got more pickleball courts, so they're probably the biggest problem. Because Madison Parks Department, they just go like this. They don't care. They just stay away from everything, and things get real crazy there. So it's gonna stop any kind of problem, as Judy said, because we've been doing this for so long. People understand how the flow is and what's going on and how we interact and react with each other. And it keeps things on the up and up with kids there, families there, there's no problems and everybody walks away happy. Everybody's playing. So, I mean, if I know you wanna take this to the legal steps and make sure that's, but maybe in the meantime, Leanne can temporarily block these things out for a period of time, so we don't have any
You're
problems.
actually not blocking it out. You're actually just saying community play only, so.
Community play, so nobody can call and ask
Reserve.
Leanne to reserve a
Right.
court during community play.
And so would
She
just
has a
have-
book and they keep, and so they
Well, you just
block
have
it
to
out.
do that and just say, anybody can play, you know.
I mean, can I? I mean, honestly.
No.
That's kind of the hard part, like
Right.
until the, yeah, like until the fee structure is amended, I don't think I can. To be honest with you, it's so rare, I don't see it coming up often. But
Well, it doesn't,
know if I can, to
it
be
doesn't
honest
come
with
up
you.
now because people know we've had community
Right,
play in
yeah.
place, and the rule's been you cannot reserve courts.
Right.
And this was a rule that I took it in front of the village board years ago after we went to the park board. So everybody was on board with that. And the whole area knows that this is the play. But as soon as the word starts getting out that they can reserve courts, that's what's gonna happen, and there's gonna be problems.
And they get it for 2 hours.
Eddie?
But I guess to move on here, I would like to have staff talk with the village attorney to see what, Elise, what you were saying, to
Mhm.
see what would the school district be classified as. Let them go with that. As far as the scheduling right now, I don't think there's a lot we can do aside from making the change to the fee structure. I mean, even if we made this change to the fee structure right now, or made exemptions to it, I mean, I think it'd be even a bigger conversation. I don't know if anyone would be comfortable making that choice right now or recommending that to the staff.
So
So
leave it as.
to move on, I would like to direct staff to talk with the village attorney to see what the next steps could be for some of the proposals that have been here. And then we'll have to revisit there, and unfortunately, as far as scheduling goes, it's gonna be what it
Stay as
is.
is.
Be June.
Right
Yeah,
now.
okay,
Okay.
so we can come
We'll
back
do
with
that.
maybe
Yep.
some options that Larry would recommend and feels would be
Okay.
clear, you
Right.
know, to apply, and then you guys can choose from those if any, to recommend to the board in June. Yep, and then just
I
to,
mean,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, because there's nothing stopping community play from happening right now until someone,
right, it's happening.
until,
yeah.
Right,
until someone
exactly,
makes
yeah.
it, until someone makes it a point to stop it.
Correct.
Right.
And Leanne, if you can just share, keep that information available, so
Mhm.
be aware of it.
So,
Don't want any conflicts. All right.
Okay, we'll come back in June with some more
Mike?
options and information.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
just so
Mike?
that the attorney knows that you can walk on the course and play. Where if I wanna go play baseball, I can't go on because the game is going and they already have their players. That's where I'm looking at it that way.
Yep, I don't think we're gonna ask Larry if he thinks that's a good setup or not. I think, yeah, I
But just
will.
so that he knows the, the
Yep.
nonprofit versus.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think it's more in this case, we're just talking about who is making the reservation. So if it's the school district, just providing clarity on, is it a community organization, or maybe there's some other language that he would recommend that we would put in the fee schedule so that that's clear. Maybe we add community organization and maybe it's whatever quasi-governmental, I don't know,
Something.
maybe the village
Yeah.
of McFarland wants to reserve all of our courts just to spite us or something, and maybe they have a separate fee line, so, yeah, I think it's just more what kind of category and wording that would fall under, and then we'll bring that back to you all, and then it's a board decision if they would support that change, and, yeah, more to come, but I think
All right.
we have our marching orders to discuss with Larry. We may end up just bringing him to the meeting. We'll see how complicated it is or not, but he's come to planning commission for some items, and sometimes it's nice to not, cuts out the middleman here, so if you have questions, we can just ask them directly, so we can put it at the top of the agenda, make sure he's in and out quickly, but we can make that call once we talk to him.
All right. Very good.
Sorry, Mark, one thing to just maybe flag is that this is kind of a natural experiment period too. We have about a month
Right.
of where this won't exist, and are we getting complaints? Is the police department getting involved? You know,
Right.
Eric will
So we're
take
looking
calls
forward
from
to
folks
Leanne.
and.
Leanne can be
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
voice of
And
it.
I can do that.
Okay. Very good. Mike, thank you.
Thank you. I was hoping this was a 5-minute discussion, but obviously.
Oh, no.
But I've not seen anybody sitting here, except for Judy, come out and play pickleball. You need to come out and play, then you'd understand what I'm
Not
talking
on
about.
crutches either, though.
You used to come out with Amy, but I could never get you to play. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks, Mike.
So item 9B, upcoming meeting dates, the 9th of June and the 14th of July. Those dates look okay? Sure. Okay to me. Items for future meeting assignments, or assignments. Any topics that the park board has?
Yeah, I have one, and it's probably more towards Lauren. Can we just get an update in the near future about, the new park spaces that would be coming online with the new development behind, like between Rustic Vineyards and the cemetery north of, what is it, Mary Hill?
Meridian?
Oh,
The
yeah.
Viridian stuff. If, we don't need it right now, but if we could put that on the agenda, just to kind of see what's happening with that, because I know we looked at the plan years ago, or just to kind of get an idea.
Yeah, actually, that's a great timing, because we were just talking about that today, and it hasn't been accepted yet, but it will be soon, so absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That'd be great.
And then we do have a new Viridian neighborhood that's going through the early stages of annexation and plat review. That's on the north side of Netherwood, right north of Highlands of Netherwood Park. So that would have some trails and a park as well at pretty early stages, but we can catch you up on that and include those plans in the next packet too.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Very good. Anything else for announcements? Judy, you have anything?
Nope, not right now. Just wondering about the sandbox though. That'd be interesting. To see if,
The
we probably can
cost.
walk door to door and get enough money to do it.
The
We'll
cost of
look
the
into
sand.
costs. Yep. Yeah, we can get that information for next meeting.
Not gonna be yours.
I mean, that park is used so much and there's toys there and everything there. I just
And
think it's
which one is that? That's the,
the one on the other side of Bergamot.
Meadowview?
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
Meadowview, it's not
Meadowview.
Bergamot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep,
and I
I've
know-
seen
I know
tons of
Jamie's
toys.
with me.
That's awesome. Andy, do you have anything?
Yeah, last month I sat in with Garrett from, I think, JT Engineering for one of the Bethel Greenacre things. I know he was reaching out to a lot of different groups, so it was interesting to see some of the stuff that he had thought of already and to hear what some of the other groups were there. Unfortunately, I don't think I can make it tomorrow, so I look forward to next month when he comes to the meeting.
Awesome, wonderful. It's a good reminder of tomorrow night as well. Jamie?
Nothing.
No.
I really just wanted to be like, the sand, but.
We hear you.
I did, I built it
I
up.
have nothing else, so let's call for an adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Andy? Judy's got second. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign for objection. Very good, thank you. Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
Appreciate it
So
all.
great.
Get the sun.
Yeah, the sun, this is gonna change in June, it'll be a little higher, so as long as we don't go till 7:30, then I'll be okay.
I guess it's getting you from.
Challenge
those upper
accepted.
windows, huh?
Then I'm gonna sit over there and have